So coming to cryopreservation and vitrification, the cornea is storage in liquid nitrogen at minus 196. The corneas are in a dormant state because the metabolism of cells are inhibited, and there is lack of accumulation of toxic metabolic byproducts, so it inhibits inhibition of microorganism. So the danger in cryopreservation is because intracellular ice crystals are formed. So there are techniques to prevent ice crystal formation. There are cryoprotectant which can cause, however, there is at the same time it can cause toxicity if it is used in high concentration. In vitrification, we go from solid to liquid transition without formation of crystallize, which is called glass transition temperature. And normally vitrified organs are brittle and damaged by thermal stress if not heated uniformly. So thawing must be temperature controlled to prevent endothelial damage. So coming to advantage, you can keep it for indefinite storage. Our viability of cells are maintained, but however disadvantages require expensive equipment and expertise. So loss of tissue function due to thermal stress caused during tissue rewarming. Glycerol preservation, I think it is one of the simplest technique. It is not a new, it was started long back, and there are a lot of modification to this process when it started, and it does not preserve endothelium. Mostly these are used for tectonic or DALK procedure. Dehydrating agent used in glycerol has antimicrobial and antiprotease activity. It can be preserved in normal temperature. Initially it was thought that it has to be preserved in minus 80, but now with the glycerol you can preserve in normal temperature. So the advantage, again, it is inexpensive and minimum use of technology, easy to adopt by iBank in developing nations. Currently also we keep some in case future emergency. It can be stored at room temperature and reduce risk of rejection if you are using for DALK. And disadvantage, you cannot use for endothelium, where you can use for optical purpose. Another way of long preservation is lyophilize. In this, the tissue is frozen, then it comes to vapor pressure lowered, and ice is removed because ice is toxic for the cells. Removed from frozen tissue by sublimation or change from phase of solid to vapor without passing through the liquid phase. The advantage of lyophilized cornea is again kept for extended period of time. This may be used as patch graft, reduce risk of rejection due to lack of viable cell, and disadvantage again is technologically expensive. Lack of viable tissue lead to corneal opacity, so it's again only used for tectonic or therapeutic purpose. Gamma irradiation, I think it is used by your iBank in Bombay. Dr. Muscati has experience in this. So in this frozen corneal tissue submerged in storage medium containing human serum albumin, and it is sterilized and validated by gamma irradiation process. There is a substantial change in physical and biological characteristic of collagen. Advantages can be stored up to 2 years, and again this can be used for patch graft or glaucoma salt procedure. And disadvantages required patented technology for processing tissue, lack of viable cells, corneal opacity after transplantation. This is the only long-term preservation. Again, this is not new. This is used in European iBank. It can be kept for 1 month, and it is a technically long procedure at this point of time in India because we have a waiting list and tissue is used. Compared to the cost and benefit, it is not a viable option. And tissue are not is a preservative media, but recent advances for the tissue is human tissue engineered cornea or synthetic corneal culture. So summary is we need some form of long-term preservation, but endothelium viability is the challenge. And surplus cornea, at least we use in our country is 50% is used and 50% is rejected, and most of them are for poor quality. This can be kept for emergency using all those long term. I think at this point glycerol is easiest, but in future maybe we can need to change to organ transfer or other media. And at this point of time, we do not allow to give it to outside India because for the waiting list, but in future when we need to transfer, we can be used for all those media which can, even if the endothelium is not viable for therapeutic or tectonic purpose. Thank you. And I'll take this opportunity to invite for the 14th National Conference of Cornea and Eye Banking in Bhubaneswar. And please remember the date is 14th and 15th of September.
Thank you, Sujata, for well ahead of time you have finished your talk. And any question to Dr. Sujata?
What is the prospect of this honey-based preservative for cornea? Have you tried honey-based preservative?
Honey-based preservative.
I'm not aware
Prospect.
of.
Have you tried? I think it will be a good medium, probably.
I'll just,
Seems
I've
somebody
not tried it, none of us have tried it, but I've heard about it. The honey is like glycerol in the sense that it is an antiseptic agent, so the chances of infection are reduced. It's a thick mass. It works almost exactly like glycerol. You can keep it in room temperature, you can store it up to 2 years. Honey doesn't get spoiled over time. So it can be used, but glycerol is equally freely available and equally cheap. So most eye banks in our country, if they have to preserve, they preserve it in glycerol. There are isolated anecdotal reports of honey being used as a preservative.
honey can be sterilized.
Yes, but glycerol is equally easily available and cheap and does the same thing. And it's been, has a proven track record. So there is really no impetus for an eye bank to shift to honey. But I agree with what you're saying, that it works well.
The thing is that we follow the others. We don't want to start from ourselves.
True, that is true.
So I have a question to Kuresh that she has said about the gamma preservation.
Yeah, I'll just give you an update on this.
How you are doing it.
I'll explain. So in this closed room, I'll just tell you that there was, the technology was patented with this cornea gen, and another company, which was that? Eyesight or some?
Eyesight International.
So then the two companies merged and then separated, and in that this happened during the COVID time, and for the last 2 years we've been in correspondence with them, and because of their internal problems that they have not been able to share the technology with us. So we have gone bypass them, and Mr. Mahmood Farazdagi, who all of us know, who retired from there, that he's got the technology, and the technology which he's got is not patented. He's willing to share it free of cost with us. So everything has been cleared now. We are signing an MOU with him. It's a private MOU, and we have to start again from scratch because we had taken the permissions for that patented technology. So it will take about 6 months more before we start making gamma irradiated corneas. So we had made a few. Dr. Rajesh Fogla used them, but those were with those people's technology, so we can't use that. So with a small change in technology, we can go out of that patent thing, and we'll start doing it in about 6 months' time.
So how it will be different from glycerol preserved? Only the duration?
No, it is gamma irradiated, so it is completely acellular. It is unlike glycerol. There's no liquid over there. So our aim is to send it to all the eye banks and all the teaching hospitals in the country, send two of each, so that anytime they have a therapeutic. And they've seen anecdotal reports of these remaining clear for up to 2 years in spite of being acellular. Anecdotal published literature is there before it becomes opaque. So it takes some time to become opaque, unlike the glycerol preserved ones. So it has an edge over the glycerol.
But people are using it for DALC surgery mostly, and also emergency therapeutic PK. That, but it is sometimes difficult to handle
Sticky,
and
it's
suture.
difficult to.
That way, this has an edge over, and it is just like a cornea, but dried form. It
Correct.
is available in dried form. It is not a wet, so you have to soak it and you have to stitch it, and it is just like a.
Yeah.
So it is just like a normal cornea, but
This one will be like normal.
acellular. No cells are there. Okay.
Raki?
Rak.
Good morning, everyone. I am going to present about the ethical principles in iBanking. This is on behalf of Dr. Rakesh Shah, as he has gone because of some emergency. So I'm going to talk more about, in the ethical consideration, the Barcelona principles. I think with the iBanking community growing, we need to go back and look at what the Barcelona principle talks about in terms of ethical considerations. Barcelona principles were developed by GAIBA, Global Alliance of iBank Association, and they represent a significant agreement on the ethical use of donated human tissue for ocular transplantation, research, and future technologies. These principles, as I told you, are developed by GAIBA in collaboration with various international ophthalmic organizations. They were signed in 2018 World Ophthalmology Congress in Spain, and they serve as a global bioethical framework for iBanking practices. And it mostly emphasizes on consents, equitable allocations of ocular tissues, and prohibition of trafficking and transplant tourism. Transplant tourism is something which is not very, very common, but there are countries where people only go and for their transplants. But in India, we definitely don't promote a transplant tourism because we have a very well-defined law which talks about how the tissue is going to be allocated to a foreigner. First, it's the city from where the tissue was collected, then it goes to the state, then it goes to the zone, then it goes to the nation, and then if there is no patient available and there is a no objection certificate from the committee, then only a foreign patient can get the transplant. So these principles were developed by multiple organizations, and iBank Association of India was a key part of it, and this address again the consent donation. It talks about areas of ethical ambiguity, especially the profitization and supply chain in the iBanking. When we talk about profitization, even the processing fee which we are taking in the iBank, it is not the profit which we are collecting. The THOTA Act clearly states that the processing fee can only be taken by the hospital, by the recipient, or by any non-profit organization, but not the donor, and also it can only be charged for the medium which we are using, the technician cost, and the instruments which we are using. But we can't say that, okay, this iBank is putting 25,000 rupees for a collection, so we will charge 25,000 as a processing fee. That is not by, regulated by the law then. Global movement of eye tissue. It should ensure the ethical practices in the global movement of eye tissue. In India, we definitely are not allowed to export the tissue outside the country, but there are countries which are exporting tissues. In the Southeast Asia, we have Nepal, which is one of the biggest suppliers of corneas to the iBank, but they also follow a rule that till they have a patient available in the country, they can't send the tissue outside. Again, we have to promote the partnerships across borders while maintaining the ethical standards. We are not against giving to the other countries in terms of Sri Lanka giving to us or Sri Lanka, Nepal giving to Bangladesh, but they should be all under the ethical standards. Especially the beneficence and the non-maleficence. That is the key ethical consideration for iBanking. iBanks are for doing good and to avoid harm to anyone in all circumstances. So iBank needs to strive to benefit patients in need of corneal transplantation by facilitating the donation, preservation, and transplantation of corneal tissue. And in all circumstances, they have to avoid harm. So they have to adhere to strict protocols to minimize the risk of harm to both the donor as well as the transplant recipients, including ensuring tissue quality and safety standards. And this is where the standard operating procedures comes into play. A national program for control of blindness have put effort in giving us a very good standard which were published in 2021. I request everyone who is in the iBanking community to please go check those standards and make their SOPs accordingly. Management of altruistic donations. We should have guidelines for handling the voluntary and the altruistic donations, ensuring the utility within the ophthalmology and the research. Even if the tissue is not going to be utilized for the transplant, an iBank should take maximum effort to use the tissue for the research or providing it to the other institutes who are using the tissues for the trainings as well. Currently, the best practice is when we are going to collect the corneas and we understand that after the pen light examination by the technician, that the tissue may not be utilized for the transplantation, the family needs to be informed about that the tissue can be used for research, and even the consent form should have a clear clause that the tissue can be used for transplantation as well as research, so that the family don't inquire afterwards at why the tissue was not used for transplantations. And the tissue is a public resource at the end of the day. It was by the public and for the public. Justice and autonomy. iBank should ensure equitable access to corneal transplantations for all patients in need, regardless of factors such as socioeconomic status, geographic location, or the medical history. Autonomy. iBank should respect the autonomy of potential donors by providing comprehensive information about donations, allowing them to make informed decision about their willingness to donate their corneas after that. Remember, this is a willingness that the family or the potential donor needs to tell. We can't force anyone to donate the corneas. Even during the hospital cornea recovery program, the main job of the eye donation counselor is to counsel the family, to provide them with all the facts and the figures and answer their queries, but at no point they can force the family or lure the family to donate the corneas. So that is something which we all need to understand and need to follow. Self-sufficiency and transparency. Of course, we need to balance export and import. In terms of India, it doesn't imply. But even in the states, we need to have balance. We know that some part of the country have lot of corneas and the other part of the country, like Northeast, don't have corneas. So at least the distribution should be well managed, the supply chain system should be well managed, that everyone receives the corneas and our country becomes self-sufficient in terms of corneal transplantation. We should ensure the transparency in consent and authorization when donation. Safety and quality standards, again, we have in all state, we have to uphold the safety and the quality standards and the equitable allocation of the tissue. In my latest conversation with NOTO, National Organization for Tissue Transplants and Organs, they are working on having a software to have a list of all the recipients. I'm not sure how fast they will going to develop it, but I think as iBank Association of India also we can have a donor registry and a recipient registry kind of system, ma'am, which we can start and need to follow up, because one of the major complaints by the iBanks is they don't get, once they have given the tissues to the doctors or the corneal transplant surgeons, they don't get it back, the information about the recipient, that what happened to it, or even the tissue was used for the same patient or not. So I think we need to work on the registry as well. Conclusion is that, of course, we have to follow the global ethical framework and follow all the ethical considerations while we work for the iBank. Thank you so much.
I'll ask Dr. Basak, what do you think about donor registry? Is it really helpful? Donor registry. Recipient registry is fine. Donor registry, is it really helpful?
Normally we keep the records as a thing, but donor registry, normally we cannot make it prospectively. It is just when a donor is happening, we are putting in it our system in EMR system. That is to see the, to see your work of area, and also to see your where you are working, which area is giving the best yield in terms of that. So we have identified certain areas in our eye bank around like 50-kilometer radius, that some of the part of those areas have the highest in a small part, and they have given the highest call, and we have harvested highest cornea from them. So we know that this area of focus, we do not
Hello
have to
everyone.
do anything in this
I'll
because
be
the public or people are sensitized already. So any death in that community, the call will come to us. So we take that example, go to the other part, and try to improve the donation. That is the only logistic from our point of view. But to be frank, for other way it does not help to maintain, but you have to keep your track record. Donor registry means everything should be there, including the serology report for medical legal issues. Something happens in future, so you could trace your donor registry and you can get back to.
As far as donors is concerned, maintaining those donor cards, I think most of the eye banks have stopped keeping donor cards with them, because it just uses up very precious space in our eye banks with Godrej cupboards filled with cards which are of no meaning. So most eye banks now allow the patient to keep the donor card with them and ask them to display it to their relatives, keep it in a prominent place rather than keep it with the eye bank. As we know, the donor card is of no meaning, because once a person dies, irrespective of whether he has filled a form or not filled a form, the eye bank personnel cannot remove the eyeball if the next of kin don't give consent, because the body belongs to the next of kin. We had a very bitter experience in Mumbai before the internet era, when the then governor of Maharashtra about 25 years ago came to the state government eye bank and expressed keen interest in eye banking, and in front of 20 cameramen signed a pledge card. And within, his name was Nawab Ali Awar Jung, royal lineage, he was governor. Within 15 days of signing the pledge card, he died. And the JJ hospital, government hospital, people went in an ambulance to Raj Bhavan to enucleate the eyes, because it had come on the front page of Times, governor donates eyes, and 15 days later he actually died. So it was fresh, and his wife was extremely rude. Why have you come here? They said, sir signed this pledge card. They went with the copy of the pledge card over there, and she said, I refuse permission. So the ambulance had to come back, because irrespective of the wishes of the dying person, it is the owner of the body is the next of kin. So as far as donor registration is concerned, we encourage them to, if he had shared this with her and explained to her his wishes, maybe it would have been different. Yeah, Rakhi.
Sir, NATO has launched a new pledge form on their website on 17th of September, which is linked with the Aadhaar card. And you can go anytime on the website, change your information, and when you are filling up the form, at the same time they ask for the emergency contact number as well. So when you fill up the form and submit it, the information goes to whoever is your emergency contact number, or your spouse or your son or anyone. It goes to them. I have filled that form, and it was very easy to fill, and it was, looks like we need to, if we all decide that if we also can move to that
I think
form,
that would be wonderful. So all of us go to online and
Yes.
forget about these. Yeah.
We give we encourage the pledge card system in various function, but at the same time we give the patient that pledge card in a bigger format, like so that he
They can frame it.
print and frame it, keep in their
Office, home, like
office, or mainly in their drawing
that. For the
room.
relatives, yeah.
For
Sir,
the relatives.
Rajasthan,
And
they
at the
exactly do it. Whoever fills a pledge form, they give them a certificate which they frame it, keep it outside. In Kota, they have started a new initiative where anyone who has donated or has pledged, they paint it outside that it's a Netradani Parivar kind of thing,
Okay.
more to encourage the society to donate. So
that
such
is-
initiatives can be promoted.
going on, okay.
So there is a lot we can do to popularize this. Many people, 90% of people who don't donate are just because they've never been approached or never been told or were not aware of eye donation. Various studies have shown all this. Let's move on. Sujata, you're giving one more talk?
No,
Shakeen is not here. Sunita is not here.
Sunita's recorded one is there.
Recorded talk. Can we have Dr. Sunita Chaurasia's talk? Data management of iBank through software.
Hello everyone. I'll be talking on data management at the iBank. Data management has 4 key components: data collection, data organization, archival and storage of data, and data protection and retrieval. Data management at the iBank requires trained iBank personnel, a robust record system for easy access and analysis, and auditing process to check the accuracy of the data collected. Data management is required at the iBanks to identify the gaps and to scale up the operations where needed, analyze the demand and supply, analyze the individual performance parameters and overall performance of the iBank, to see the trends in different surgical procedures and to adapt to the innovative techniques to meet the surgeon's demand, auditing of the various functional arms of the iBank and improving the quality aspects, capacity building and research, and medico-legal reasons. Several people are involved in data collection at the iBank. This is a display of one such report which is important for the hospital corner recovery programs, and this is to analyze the performance at each partner hospital and also assess counselors and technicians' performance. This report shows notification rate, suitability rate, approach rate, consent rate, and the utilization rate, which is periodically monitored across the months and years. A similar report which assesses the counselor's performance on the same parameters. This is a display of 10, 20, 30-day check of corneal transplantation which happens across the months. And this is also compared with the previous year's data. This is to show the short-term trends and comparison to the previous years. This is the format of the iBank statistical yearly report, which includes 5 important parameters, namely the deaths and the death notification rate from hospitals served, potential donors and consent from the HCRP sources, tissue recovery and collection, eligibility and suitability for the tissues recovered with the intent for surgical use, and tissues distributed for the type of transplants. The documentation of donor cornea evaluation involves suitability for keratoplasty with its type and the reasons for the non-suitability. The donor records are preserved in physical format for 10 years for regulatory purposes and thereafter in the form of scanned records. Similarly, data is collected regarding the cornea utilization for various types of surgeries. This is to know the trends in the utilization rates and the trends of various types of keratoplasty. The iBanks also maintain a record of pre-cut desec tissues, amniotic membrane, and sclera. With respect to pre-cut desec, the thickness of the grafts and preservation media preferences of the individual surgeons is also noted. This is to know the relative demands and preferences in the community. The overall monthly transplants data and the type of transplants from each network iBank is shared with the iBank Association of India and the cornea distribution system. The data that is collected for routine operational efficiency includes temperature records, laboratory cleaning logs, equipment maintenance and calibration status, instrument cleaning and sterilization logs, and environmental monitoring data sheets. Other records that are routinely maintained in the iBank includes recipient information forms, adverse reaction reporting forms, internal and external quality audit reports, technician training and annual competency records, reporting of non-compliances, corrective action and preventive action records, and donor record review logs. Data is collected on quality parameters of donor tissue retrieval, any protocol deviations during in situ excision and storage, quality of pre-cut tissues, periodic audits of tissue retrieval evaluation process and pre-cut processing procedures. Auditing of donor documentation records is done regularly. 10% of the iBank records are done by the manager and 5% by the medical director. The data that is collected and compiled is organized in the form of daily reports, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly reports. Data archival is done in the form of manual documentation, which is in the form of registers and logs, and electronic records. Some of the iBank database systems we have used include the iTransplant, Global iBank Management System, and Salesforce CRM platform.
This is a screenshot showing the data management using the iTransplant. This slide shows a screenshot of the GEMS and the Salesforce software.
The electronic iBank database allows for retrieval of the following data, which relates to the recovery status, donor's medical history, evaluation findings, tissue requests, tissue distribution, and transplantation by various surgeons. It allows for access to donor demographics, donor tissue quality, tracking technician and counselor's performance, transplantation trends, trends in different surgical procedures, and tracking the surgery indications. The iBank database system ensures confidentiality of donor records as is required as per the standards, helps in retrieving data for research studies which help in framing policies and guidelines on iBanking.
In the year 2017, SiteLife provided another software, Global iBank Management System, in place of the iTransplant. This was developed locally by Indian software company at Pune and continued to provide free of cost service during the partnership period. However, this was implemented only in a few iBanks. In 2019, GEMS software was withdrawn and thereafter RIB was engaged in local software company to develop its own software, and this was a Salesforce Microsoft CRM platform, and this software is in use since then. The iBank Society of Rajasthan, Jaipur, uses their own software which is very similar to the SiteLife provided GEMS software, and the Rotary Arvind International iBank Madurai is in the process of developing their own software which is under testing phase and probably may take around 3 months for implementation. Some iBanks in Maharashtra state use the government provided software. Now there can be some challenges using the iBank database software, and some of these involve around the cost and the recurring expenditure, some of which may be difficult for the iBanks to afford. And despite having the iBank database software, there may still be a need to maintain physical forms as per the requirement of the quality audit and the government regulations. Despite its challenges, the iBank database software has several advantages. It can help retrieve the data points easily, such as donor demographics. It can help to generate the statistical reports. One can get required data to see the donor and the transplantation trends, and one can also get a curated data for auditing and research purpose.
Thank you for listening.
We say thank you in absentia to the speaker, and we invite Dr. Pariyar, who was busy in a trauma session, to give us an atraumatic talk.
Thank you, sir. Can't expect atraumatic from a military person. Either there will be prevention of trauma or full of trauma, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Dr. Samar Basak, Honorable President of AIOS, Dr. Maskati, Honorable former President of AIOS, Dr. Sujata and Dr. Namrata, two great pillars of strength for Indian ophthalmology and for me too. My dear friends, and I acknowledge full contribution of Ms. Rakhi in making this presentation. If anything is good, goes to her, anything bad goes to me. Thank you, Rakhi, for helping me as usual. So, what about the knowledge? Knowledge sharing is knowledge gain in any field of life. So here in the global scenario, what are the possibilities we have to explore to learn and to provide learning? The cross-cultural learning, collaborating with the iBanks worldwide allows us to learn from diverse practices, experiences and challenges. Knowledge sharing help us adopt best practices and avoid pitfalls. Innovations, very important. By sharing research findings, technological advancement and clinical insight, we collectively drive innovation in eye banking. New techniques, preservation methods, and quality assurance protocols emerge from this exchange. Indeed, no innovation, no research is of use unless until it is translated into the benefit of society and benefit of the patients and human beings. Most important task is the capacity building at each and every sphere of functional zone, and knowledge sharing enhances the skills and expertise of eye bank professionals. Training programs, workshops and conferences facilitate continuous learning. Our predecessors, they have worked hard to see that eye bank goes at the global level to improve the training facilities, improve the infrastructure, and with due respect, I acknowledge each and every office bearer of Eye Bank Association of India since its foundation for their contribution. When we talk about the collaborative efforts to address common challenges, is a tissue challenge, tissue shortage, quality assurance, and ethical practices. Three very important aspects. Many countries face a shortage of corneal tissue for transplantation. Collaborative efforts can help optimize donor recruitment, improve preservation techniques, and ensure equitable distribution. When we have our own issues with the going to the global level to help, first of all, we have to see that in our own interest state, how we can reform this system, and tissue storage is augmented and enhanced in quality and quantity. Quality assurance is very, very important, and quality assurance of tissue, quality assurance of eye bank, quality assurance for the technicians and ophthalmologists. You need to standardize protocols and sharing quality control measures, enhance the safety and efficacy of corneal transplant. Collaborative networks can monitor outcomes and identify areas for improvement. And for me, this is my KRA to ensure that we develop a system which is having a proper quality assurance. We have been, Dr. Basak and Muscati, we have been working on to how to get standardize our eye banks and eye bank technicians. Last Sunday, I was with the National Academy for their leadership development program as a chairman, and NABH chairman, Dr. Mahesh Verma, was there with me almost 2 hours. I discussed with him, and he has readily agreed to help us and assured us that we make a guideline for both the issues, and they will evaluate and make it a NABH accreditation process. I just wanted to share with this audience.
Good, it would be an incentive for pushing our eye banks to get NABH certified in the absence of any internal criteria that we have. I don't know how many eye banks we'll have to handhold them in the process. You cannot tell them to have NABH. Nobody will do it. We'll have to handhold them.
Yeah,
and
but before
push
that,
them to
we
improve
have
standards.
to make a
internal. We have to do that. Yeah.
And we'll
before
make
it goes to NABH.
Yes, sir. We'll make our committee
SOP.
with the higher esteemed people and guidance. Then
Agreed.
we'll recommend and goes. I thought it is appropriate to
put it here.
inform the audience here.
Just one comment here that
Yes,
if for an institutional eye bank, the NABH is coming for accreditation, they includes their eye bank also. Recently it happens with us. So our eye bank is accredited by the NABH for as a whole.
Because the
NI.
But there are certain standalone eye banks also.
That is
So,
what they have
because
only
when
this.
this question was raised here about some other department, they wanted to ask, can we have our department accredited? I said, no, it cannot be accredited because it is the part of the system. So we are doing the accreditation for the entire.
Yes, Dr.
this thing.
Shakeen.
Maybe if we have a multi-specialty hospital, like those have a labs, when we go in for inspection, for assessment for the NABH, we take it in a part of it. But when you go in for the lab, they have their own standards. Similarly, eye bank, if it's with the eye hospital, we assess it as a part of the hospital. So it's assessed as an eye bank into NABH accredited hospital. But we have to create our own standards for the, good standing of the eye bank itself.
Correct.
So
That's what Dr. Pariyar is saying.
We can create, that would be a good, step towards standardization of the eye banking.
There is no harm to
Absolutely
push
no
it.
harm. Absolutely no harm.
If it
All
comes
to the
through,
good.
if it comes through, it means really it will help
Yes.
not only to our eye banks but the technicians also, sir.
Yes,
Once
yes.
they are accredited, it means it will help them.
That will raise the standard all across India.
Everybody, yeah.
Uniformity and other aspects which is
Okay.
going to cover that.
No, we'll have a big, wide this thing on deliberations and discussions getting, and once it is made, we'll circulate it, pros and cons, and then we'll proceed. And we will study the other eye banks, international eye banks, their criteria, etc. So it will be a full document. Here comes the role of international organizations and partnerships with the EBA and GAIBA. I have very limited exposure with them. My predecessors probably would have had more. And EBA facilitates collaborations among eye banks globally. It provides resources, guidelines, and certification programs. So obviously, we will get the input from them also. Partnership with EBA enhance eye banking practices. Global Alliance of Eye Bank Association connects regional eye bank associations, fostering knowledge exchange and joint initiatives. It advocates for eye donation and transplantation on a global scale, and collaboration with medical societies is very important. In a present era, you can't function standalone. You have to be the part of the system, and partnership with ophthalmological societies, transplant organizations, and public health bodies strengthen the advocacy efforts and promote the eye health. What all challenges we are facing as usual: the shortage of donor corneas, improving donor screening and tissue processing technique. These are the major issues. Ensuring the safety and quality of donor corneas require rigorous screening protocols. Collaborative efforts can help standardize screening criteria and enhance tissue processing methods. These are added challenges. Timely distribution of corneal tissue. Probably in our country in last couple of years, there is a definite improvement in getting the tissues in time, but still some more needs to be carried out on these issues. Maintaining high quality of standards. This is very, very important, and still a lot of things has to be done on these issues because there is a wide variation in the qualities available with us. Trained staff and infrastructures. If you have a trained staff, it is in-house training. Very few institutions in our country are having a structured program to do the training of the eye bank technician. EBI has started the certification of the trained technicians with the aim that at least there is some efforts are from our side and giving some recognition to the staff, those who are getting it. Our future on this goal is to affiliate this, make a capsule for the training, affiliate it with some of the technical boards of the different states, and make it as at par with the other 2 years diploma courses. That would be our aim in future for the eye bank technicians. Affordability of equipment and storage media. Again, equipments are very costly, and hence there has to be the collaborative efforts can explore cost-effective solutions and resource sharing. Inadequate public awareness has to be raised in future. Community eye raise and hospital partnership, quality assurance. These are the other strategies and best practices we are intended to follow it. Research innovations, I have already mentioned. Training programs, we have discussed. Digital platform. And now things have become digital, and you are seeing the YouTube creator. They are making they are become the power more than the TV media. And in most of the Western world, the YouTube creators, they are influencing the national politics also, and in our country also this trend is being seen. So if you have to develop the more awareness, we have to get engaged more and more with the digital platform. Expansion of donor pool, technological advances. These are the future directions for us to take care of it. Capacity building, yes, everywhere it is required. Standardizations we have already discussed. What all opportunities for improvement and growth. Infrastructure development and public awareness campaigns. So call for action for state government agencies should allocate resources of funding support, because iBanking is very tough to sustain without any government supports, and with the NGOs, healthcare providers and NGOs and community have to come forward and help us. Thank you very much. And on behalf of EBI and organizing committee of next EBI CME, Dr. Sujata Dad, I invite each and every one of you and propagate this message to attend the CME, that it will be our 14th annual CME in Bhubaneswar. Sujata, if I'm not wrong, these are 14th and 15th September?
Yes, 14,
Yes.
15.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Pariyar. Invite Dr. Shakeen Singh on community engagement programs, extremely important, building trust in the community.
Good evening, everybody, and I must thank EBI for giving me this opportunity to stand before you. Before I go to my topic, I would request the EBI if we can collaborate at the central level. Ma'am Namrata Sharma can be better facilitator to help the iBanking all across India to make all states reasonably funded for this courses, because some time back what I noticed in our state that the funds have not been given to the state government from the central governments. So the work there is already standstill. So at national level, EBI can be a part, be a recommendatory authority to national body if we can help there. So about the community engagement program, building trust and overcoming a culture barrier, it's a very basic topic, and we need to involve for this work the whole community to be a part of it. So for that, the first thing we need to make them aware about the magnitude of a blindness, iBanking system, and donation process, myths and belief, who can donate and who are the beneficiaries. If we talk of the blindness all across, we have to make them aware that that's around 12.7 million people globally suffer from corneal blindness only. And 1.2 million people from India suffers from corneal blindness. Among those, 30 lakh children below age 12 years suffering from corneal blindness. And on an average, around 1 lakh cornea are needed in India every year, but we are getting only 15,000 usable corneas. We burn or bury 75 lakh pair of eyes, that means 1.5 million eyes, leaving the 1.5 million corneal blind person to live in the darkness. Because of this shortfall of donor eye, there is a long list of waiting patients.
Shakeen, this previous figure is a little outdated. I think Raki will share with us. Just go back one slide.
Last year data is we have done more than 28,000 transplant in the country. Am I correct, Raki? And our utilization rate 28,000 plus, highest ever in the history of iBanking. Ganesh, am I correct? And this is
Utilization is 60%.
Is also higher,
going up.
Highest. During pre-COVID it was highest. Now it is. It is our expected that we should use at least 60.
So we're collecting about 50,000 corneas.
Okay. No, 59. 45.
Yeah, so around 50,000 is what we.
Yeah, because the after effect of COVID, we collected only 45,000 last year, and this year we had to finalize the collection total.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it will be 50,000 this year.
Okay.
An iBank is the institute responsible for harvesting and processing donor cornea and for distributing them to trained corneal craft surgeon and for research purpose. There are 3 steps into deceased family calls iBank. A grief counselor motivates and obtains consent and retrieval recovery of the tissue. So if we talk of the awareness, the main activity of an eye retrieval center, iBank or iBank training center, is to create awareness about eye donations and also educate public about need of an eye donation. In the present scenario, awareness campaign have to be planned in such a way that the overall objective is achieved. Awareness campaign can be general awareness campaign and a focused awareness campaign. In general awareness, various media like print, electronic and movie are used and the message about eye donation is spread among the general public. This form of awareness though does not yield immediate result, helps in changing the mindset of the people gradually and progressively there would be increased donation and would come more.
iBank and other activities, other associates in all their awareness program and campaigns should ensure that public are educated about magnitude of corneal blindness, cure of blindness, corneal blindness, and need for eye donations. Only published statistics of NPCB or ABI should be quoted so that there is a consistency. Education for formality and related to eye donations. Public is educated about precautions to be taken after death and after decision for eye donation is made till the eye bank team reaches the spot. Publics are educated that the eye cannot be removed in certain medical contraindications. Families are educated about the need to arrange for death certificate, etc. before the eye bank team arrives. So that would facilitate eye banking system. So we need to educate them who can donate, no bar, any age. Who can donate eye, any person, and the relative has to, person has to consent and the relative has to call for the bank. And who can use this cornea? Only the person who is a corneal blind. Before retrieval, we have to educate them that switch off the fan, keep the AC on, place a wet cotton on the donor eyes, raise head and pillow. And we need to tell them awareness about the procedures. The eye bank team will visit the home. Eye must be removed within 4 to 6 hours of death. A small amount of blood and will be taken to rule out any communicable disease. The whole process will take around half an hour. It would involve the written consent of the donor, verification of the death certificate, ruling out contraindications, ruling out blood transfusion, any disease, and torch examination, aseptic cleaning of the face and eye, in situ corneal incision or enucleation. We take places only a corneal scleral rim, at places we take a whole of the eyeball. And immediate preservation, draw blood sample to screen for infections. And we have to, there are certain contraindications where we usually don't take the eye, like in AIDS, rabies, active viral disease, SSP, death from unknown cause, active septicemia, syphilis, HIV, SCV, and there are many other conditions. There are certain local conditions in which the cornea is already diseased, like corneal opacity, trichium, keratoconus, vitritis, retinitis, iritis, uveitis, intrinsic eye disease, prior refractive surgery, radial keratotomy. Though we can take these tissue which can be used in eye bank for the training purpose or for the trainee to work on those. The rules generally within 96 hours of preservation gives excellent result of eye transplantation. Within 4 to 6 hours after death is best time to remove eye. However, if dead body is lying in mortuary, then we can take even afterwards. You need to fill eye donation pledge, fill up the pledge online or mortuary and send the address manually. After donations, the donor family receives a certificate of appreciation from the eye bank. Eyes are evaluated at the eye bank and only the one deemed suitable are used for transplant. Others are used to research and other purpose. Corneal transplantation should be done within 2 to 3 days post removal, depending upon the preservative material they have used. Earlier is the better. Recipient are notified on a first come first service basis from the register of the patient with you already, and the donor blood is screened before transplant is for HIV, hepatitis B, C, syphilis, COVID. And for the focused awareness, for this we have to come up with the institutions. Voluntary eye donation is a result of a realization of one's social responsibility toward the cornea blind. However, in moments of grief, this realization may not materialize into actual eye donation because the patient, they may not be attended, may not be receptive at this time. So the hospital and the hospital-based program has to be confined exactly as per the need of the donors. Eye donation counseling or grief counselor is a motivational approach whereby the family members of the disease are directly motivating for an eye donations. This process provides direct access to the family members of the disease to attempt counseling. Moreover, several advantages follow tissue retrieval from hospital is a better quality, availability of the medical history, availability of the tissue from younger individuals, a reduction in the time interval between death and enucleation. Corneal excision and cost effectiveness are some of these issues which is cheaper here. The program also allows the eye donation counselor to get to know potential eye donors within the hospital. Only eye bank shall have the hospital corneal retrieval programs. In case where the hospital is far from the eye bank and is closer to an eye retrieval center, the eye retrieval center shall offer a necessary assistance like a retrieval eye and transplant to the eye bank, but nevertheless the eye donation counselor shall be under direct control of the eye bank itself. So, link between the hospital and the eye bank. The director of the eye bank shall initially meet the hospital management and sign a memorandum of understanding. The iBank director or equivalent committee member shall meet the hospital authorities, administrator, public relation officer, medical officer or nurse and educate them on the basis of the iBank and HRCP. They shall seek permission for the display of public material and poster about eye donation in ward and patient lounge in the hospital. The administrator and the medical staff of the hospital shall be requested to cooperate well with the eye donation counselor and provide information regarding the potential eye donors. The iBank director shall periodically meet the hospital authority to make inquiries about the progress problem encountered during counseling and to strengthen the bond between the iBank and the hospital. So for the community, for every kind of a social actions, especially healthcare activities, community participation is a key factor in helping activities reach the right and the needy people in the service area. Community participation bridges the gap between the service provider and the beneficiaries. It is essential to reach the base level of the community with the crucial support from the community. This kind of partnership creates a mutual entangle with the hospital HRCP, benefits in the term of recognition in the community. You organize a camp, you organize a surgical camps, and during those camps we can involve those people with us. Since the sponsors like ownership of the program, they are motivated to ensure that their services activities most beneficial to the community. Even after the camp is conducted, the sponsors are approached by people seeking assistance and guidance to get quality services. The hospital thus receives a number of walk-in patients regularly, and we can motivate all those for the eye donations. Community participation call for innovation communication tool to mobilize needy people. This is reflected in the high surgery and referral acceptance rate. This collaborative help to reduce the cost of organization and also help to institution management. That's it. So we have to involve all those religious and spiritual organizations, educational institutes, women welfare organization, youth organization, banks, charitable trust, hospital, cooperative society, village leaders. We should reach to all those to educate about the eye donation, blindness, and the purpose for the donation tissue. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers?
Yes.
Rakhi.
One more talk. Okay.
कैसे voluntary बहुत है?
हमारा voluntary बढ़ गया, उल्टा हो गया, ना उल्टा हो गया, cycle change हो गया। अब ये सब government जो and that is to some extent purposeful also. Problem बताया तो
First off, I would like to thank AIOS and EBI for giving me the opportunity to present in front of such an august gathering. I'm Rakhi Nathawat, Senior Manager, iBank and Evaluations, Dr. Shroff Charity Eye Hospital, and I'm going to talk about training the next generation of iBank professionals. So why training and development matters? We all know that, but it's good to revise again. Your processes becomes more efficient if the people are trained. They become more smoother in terms of eye donation, in tissue evaluation and distribution for transplantation. It's very important for quality assurance as skilled professionals maintain high standards in tissue processing and also the improved patient outcomes. So if you have trained professionals, the patient's outcome will definitely be improving. So in training, we basically in iBanking focus on 4 cadres. One is the iBank recovery technician. The second is the eye donation counselor, corneal evaluation technicians, and the iBank manager. Of course, then there are medical directors, volunteers, etc. But I'm going to focus more on the these four. What are the challenges in developing training programs for iBankers? First is the diverse background. We are talking about the whole country. People coming from different educational backgrounds, different cultural backgrounds, and designing a training program that caters to this diversity and also ensures the uniform learning can be challenging sometimes. Also, it's a dynamic field. The iBanking practices keep evolving with the technology, with regulations, with research. 10 years back, who would have thought that we would have corneal evaluation technicians sign off to the transplantation of the corneas. So this field is constantly improving. The training programs must remain adaptable to these changes to keep professionals up to date. iBankers have a resource constraints, and we all understand that. Resources in terms of finances and human resources as well as infrastructure, which impacts the training. We have people who needs to be trained, but we don't have trainers who can train these people. Balancing the theoretical knowledge with practical training within resource constraint is also crucial. And of course, we have to have the cultural context in our training programs. Quality assurance, we have to maintain the consistent quality while we are delivering the training program, and again that's challenging because if we want to move towards a consistent training program, we need to have train the trainer programs first to maintain the uniformity and the consistency. Regular assessments, feedback mechanisms, and continuous improvements are essential, but again it's very challenging because once the people get trained, they hardly give any feedback or come back with any kind of questions also. Competency-based approach, we have to focus on competencies rather than just content. When we are talking about the recovery technicians, it should be what should be the competency of a recovery technician. The training program should cater to that competency. We have to identify the specific skills which are required for these cadres, and then of course the stakeholder engagement. It is not a one person's job or one organization's job. We have to involve people from different sectors, educators, iBank professionals, administrators, even the policy makers to have a full-fledged training program. Of course, again, we have to balance the theory and the practice. It's more of like in the field work with the counselors, with the recovery technicians, we also need to have theoretical sessions as well. We have to look at some of the flexibility within the uniform standards, and again, and we have to ensure the long-term sustainability. Training is not a one-time work. We need to have more refreshers, and how do we sustain these training programs is also very challenging. Importance of the skill assessment tools in training. If we have skill assessment tools in a training program, it becomes very easy to uniform a training program because a skill assessment tool ensures the competency. It provides a structured framework for evaluating the proficiencies of trainees in specific tasks and procedures. Instead of saying that you are good and you are bad, we say, okay, you are good in these parameters or these skills, you have to improve on these skills and these parameters. This enables the trainers to objectively measure the knowledge, the abilities, and the competencies acquired by trainees during the training program. It also helps in identifying the strengths and the weaknesses of the trainees and how we track progress. So if we have done the training through the skill assessment tool, then we can track the progress after 3 months, with 6 months, or how are they moving in those parameters where they were supposed to improve. So of course a regular assessment allows for tracking the progress, and it provides the valuable feedback for both the trainees as well as the trainers and allow them to monitor the improvement. It also ensures the standardization, promotes the accountability, and very important, it facilitates certification and accreditation, and I'm going to talk in a little later about the certification program by the iBank Association of India. It enhances the quality assurance by evaluating trainee performance against established standards. Skill assessment tools contribute to quality assurance in all the training programs. They help to identify areas where training programs may need refinement or enhancements to ensure the optimal outcomes. And if we incorporate these training tools, we can have more effective learning outcomes and better prepared professionals. And one such skill assessment tool developed is a rubric for assessment of iBank professionals for eye retrieval. This is again a step to standardize the retrieval process, was published in IGO in 2018. This is it's a very, very simple tool. Anyone can get trained on it, and then you can evaluate your recovery technician on these parameters. So this is the tool. Recently we have developed a new tool, which is the eye donation counselor skill assessment tool. Technician is more of a hard skill. You have to do it step by step, In the wet lab also you can do it. But for the counselors, it is very important because it's more of a soft skill combination, knowledge, empathy, cultural sensitivity, etc. So this tool got published in January 2024 in IJO. I'm the first author for this. And this tool talks about all the skills which a counselor needs to have, starting from how do you initiate the case, how will your body language will be, empathy, knowledge, verbal and communication skills, flow of communications, etc. And it grades the counselor into a novice, a beginner, a competent, or an exemplary. If a person, while we are assessing the person, gets an exemplary in multiple places, that means this person can be a trainer for the eye donation counselors. So we can use the tool also to craft the career path for the counselors. What is the importance of certification? Like I talked about the eye donation counselors and recovery technicians. Certification serves as a validation of competence and proficiency in eye banking practice. It ensures the adherence to standardized protocols and ethical guidelines in tissue procurement, evaluation, and distribution. And it enhances the credibility and trust among stakeholders. Any recovery technician or a counselor or an evaluator, if they say, I am certified by an organization like Eye Bank Association of India, it gives them a credibility and a trust in the stakeholders. And last year, for the first time in the history of eye banking, Eye Bank Association of India started the Eye Recovery Technician Certification Program in the Banaras conference. 23 participants, the recovery technicians, enrolled themselves for the assessment. They were given a short training before the assessment, and then the trainers were trained by the master trainer. Before launching the certification, we had a webinar by EBI where more than 80 participants joined the webinar and they learned about the tool on which they were going to be assessed. Out of the 23 participants who participated, only 16 were able to get the certificate. And all these 23 counselors were trained counselors for more than 5 years of experience or 10 years of experience. And we realized that once they were trained 10 years, 15 years back, there were no refreshers they attended. And when I was looking at the data, it was very disheartening that most of the people who failed actually failed in the first 2-3 steps of hand washing, gloving, etc., which are the basic steps for a recovery technician. So this is the initiative which EBI is going to continue in the next conference as well. But this time, before we move into the certification, these are some of the glimpses of the certification program. The first batch of candidates who got the certification at the conference. But this time, before we move to the conference assessment, we are going to launch a series of webinars through EBI where these people will be trained in each and every aspect of recovery before they go into a certification, and nothing will come as a surprise to anyone there. Training methodologies, we can have multiple training methodologies, classroom lectures, workshops, practical training sessions, simulation-based learning, OJTs, etc. But I think, Parihar sir, it's a request that if we can also plan to have e-learning modules for people who can go back and see again and again. Even we can have recorded webinars on YouTube, which people can access again and again to learn. So technology for training should be utilized more and more. At Shroft, we have a Jagat Singh Eye Bank Training Academy, which caters to the need of the eye bank professionals at all cadres, with the objective to provide the world-class training. From the beginning of 2021, we have trained 73 eye bankers from multiple geographies, including South Africa. This is the core team of the Dr. Shroff Charity Eye Hospital who works on with the Jagat Singh Eye Bank Training Academy. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to present today. And if anyone would like to know more about the EDC set tool for the assessment, please connect with me. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions before we close this session? Raki, if somebody from a distant eye bank wants to get their technicians trained, how expensive is it going to be for them?
Sir, the fee for a recovery technician training program is 25,000 rupees. But it also, if if the iBank is very small and they are not capable to pay, there are concessions available. Also, we are planning to have multiple workshops at different places where the people can come and get 2 days. It will be kind of like a boot camp.
The regular 25,000 is a how many day?
It's a 10-day training program.
So they have to stay in
They
Delhi
stay
for
yeah,
10 days.
For 10 days, yes.
You're planning to have 2-day sessions in
2 days. That
smaller places.
Yeah, that I call as a boot camp,
Yeah.
which will be like a capsule course. So where they will get all the necessary information, and then they can continue with their online training programs then.
They will not get a certification.
They will not get the certification is only through the EBI, sir.
Yeah, so that's a 10-day program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
EBA certification is during the venue,
Yeah.
during the conference.
During the conference.
No, I'm talking about, that is correct.
yeah.
But at Shroff I,
And
if
yeah,
they-
that's it, yeah.
If say Rajasthan iBank or somebody sends a technician there, they stay for 10 days there and they pay 25,000, they will get an EBAI certificate.
They get the Dr. Shroff charity. Yeah, they get a Shroff charity. Yes, yeah, that's a totally valid certificate. And but the assessment and certification for
Can we
like
not
which
give
we
the EBAI name to it if we are convinced that this is a good?
No. That conference, the same.
We started last year, sir. Last year we started the.
Because government, this doesn't have any value to the government. So far, it cannot get a stamp from EBI. And
No,
also-
see, for example, our iBank in Mumbai is doing something similar. We have a training program for technicians, and then at the end of it, we take their exam, and then we give them a certificate from because as the HOTA Act says, we are allowed to self-certify.
Yes,
Yeah, but I was just thinking if we can approve certain training programs under the EBI umbrella and give that stamp, it becomes an.
That we have started 2 days program and then we give certificate to the trained technicians.
This is for the new, not for the
No,
new
I'm talking about
technician.
brand new people whom we pick up from the field.
Exactly for them only.
For them, yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rakhi. Thank you. If you just send an email to the EBAI, we'll send it across. It's already there.
You can also visit.
It's not as difficult as people think it is. It's not as difficult. Ganesh is sitting in front of you will vouch for that. It can be done. Yeah.
We can have a photograph.
Yeah. Can we have a group photograph?
Rakhi.
And Ganesh, can you share your details? Yeah. With him.
Ganesh, you